Hi Hope Church, it's David from the Orpington congregation. I've been given James 1 verses 12 to 18 and I really enjoyed reading these. I love the book of James because it's full of wisdom, and there are things where it's doctrine, there are other places where we learn about doctrine, things we have to believe, things that are important, fundamentals of our faith. The thing I love about James is James takes the hood off the cover. He takes the hood off, he lifts the cover. He says, hey, this is how this works. It's a bit like, I don't know if any of you are into video games, but it's a bit like going to a forum and finding all the cheat codes. This is how it works. If you try to do it this way, it won't work. If you've ever gone and watched like The Cube or something like that, before you enter, there's these instructions. You have to get these balls in this order, you have to get this number in this time, or you're out. And what I like about the book of James is he's very practical, he's very clear. And if we look at it through eyes of, this is actually designed to help me, not tell me off, then the book of James is a brilliant book. And so I love this particular thing because he talks about things that are quite tough subjects to go with. He talks about persevering under trial, or persevering under temptation, times of temptation. He talks about sin, and he talks about God being good. If we kind of look at it in those contexts, it's like, oh my goodness, it feels a bit like he's kind of telling us off a bit and making us feel a bit bad about ourselves. But he's not. He's saying, these are the principles. This is lifting the hood off and looking at it. These are the cheat codes that help you get through these things. And I want to look at it in reverse. The first thing that James says in these scriptures is, God is good. It's like, whatever, God is good. There's no shadow of turning. There's no doubt. There's not a part of him that isn't good. He's always good. He has always been good, and he will always be good. There is no turning, no shadow of turning. And that's such a hard concept sometimes for us to get hold of. But just to remind ourselves, God is good. And that's the kind of third thing that James talks about in these three things. But I think in a way, it's the most important. It says, don't be deceived. Don't be fooled by this. Don't be conned. Don't not believe he's good. He is good. He's always good. And good things come from him. So it's like, that's the ground level. And in a way, the second thing is, he's good and he is changing us, but in the process of changing us, we can get pulled in different directions. When that happens, don't think it's him doing it. It's the enemy doing it. We see in the story about Jesus when he's led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. Not he's led, by the Spirit to be tempted by the Spirit. He's led into the wilderness by the Spirit to be tempted by the devil. And so this is like James going, look, this is the way it works. It's stuff in us that gets pulled to tempt, pulled to the things that we shouldn't be doing. But it kind of, in the start, he talks about, but blessed is the man who perseveres. Blessed is the man who keeps going, who endures this trial. And it's just like, so keep going. But I want to say, if we just hear the keep going and you're blessed, like, well, I don't feel very blessed. I don't feel like I'm doing very well. But I think we should start with the end bit where it says, God is good. He is a good Father. No shadow of turning, no shifting things, no mood one day, mood another day. No, God is good. Because he's good, you realise what's going on. It's not him doing it to you. It's the stuff that we kind of suffer with still, the fallen nature. And we get pulled in different directions. But don't think it's God doing it, it's the devil doing it. And we have authority and we have overcome because Christ has overcome. So it's an amazing thing. And the promise on the top, the icing on the cake, if you like, the cherry on the icing on the cake is, and when you've done this, God is going to say, you are blessed. I don't necessarily feel blessed if I come through something. Even if I've won it, I don't always feel blessed. I feel exhausted. and what we're going through at the moment. But the book of James was written by James to the believers who were going through awful situations. This was to keep them orientated, to reorientate them, to keep them focused on Jesus, to keep them focused on the goodness of God in the midst of the really hard times. And I think that's a really good lesson for us with what we've been going through and what we're still going through, possibly ourselves and certainly in other parts of the world. And so I just want to leave that with you, that God is good, that God is good. And when you come through things, he says, and you're blessed. You are blessed. And he's really pleased with you. He's really proud of you in the right way. So that's what I got from these few scriptures. And I hope that blesses you.